Afternoon. We've had a nice conversation without you. We're going to start to have a good conversation with you. The man who needs no introduction, Brian Newbert, on the far end.
Start of the show right here.
This guy, you need the Chiron and the Rob Hummel with us as well. Rob, thanks so much for joining us, and we'll try to entertain you well for the next hour.
Sounds good.
A little bit of housekeeping. We have advertisers on this show. This is a profit game, as they say, but we have Follett's Purdue Bookstores, and we'll be hosting Mr. Hummel tomorrow, 10:30 to 12:30 at the Follett's Purdue Pride store, just on the northeast side of Ross-Age Stadium, and he'll be signing. He won't be signing his new book because he doesn't have one, but he's going to be signing all kinds of things, and we'll look forward to meeting and greeting for a couple hours tomorrow. And of course, also State Farm agent Trent Johnson, who has been our longtime sponsor. 765-743-9595, the number. TrentIsMyAgent.com, and I'll bet money Trent's probably going to be sending us some questions before long. Hilton Garden Inn, when tomorrow's a big day, stay at HGI tonight, and of course also West Point Steakhouse. And Rob, I don't know what we can ask you that you haven't been asked before, but the thing that you guys can do is you can ask questions, which we'll filter to the best of our ability and then ask him. But by all means, send us your questions for Rob. But welcome, and I know that life is busy, even though you're only taking a couple classes this semester, but your mind has got to be getting ready to, and body to get ready for the NBA and all of that's going to entail here over the next few weeks.
Sure, yeah. I have 6 hours of class right now, so I go on Tuesdays and Thursdays from 9 to 11:45. It's not too strenuous, and then usually I head down to Indianapolis to St. Vincent's and work out. Starting next week, I'll start doing basketball stuff in the morning. So Monday, Wednesday, Friday, when I don't have class, I'll be down there. But it's been fun. It's been something that I think you're never going to experience again. Going through the NBA draft process or whatever, wherever I end up is certainly a one-of-a-kind experience. So I'm enjoying it, but at the same time, it's hard work, and but it's a lot of fun.
Is it hard to stay? You're a good student, obviously, but stay focused on the fact that you do have 2 classes, and are they, I assume, upper-level credit courses at the?
Yeah. No, it's been kind of difficult. My professors have been good. The 2 classes I'm taking, one of them's brand management, and the other is business marketing. So, I had a little bit of senioritis last year when I was an actual senior.
Yeah.
Now I'm a 5th-year senior, so you combine that and take those 2 things into account. It's kind of hard to stay motivated, but it's something you have to do. I need the classes to graduate because I was told that I actually had too many credit hours to be eligible, so they had to kind of maneuver some things for me and have it so I could work towards my major. So, but school is good. It's kind of nice only having 6 hours.
Yeah, it's good, and maybe in a bit it will be over too, which is a good thing as well.
Sure.
Brian?
Too many credit hours?
Yeah, somehow.
I don't know there was such thing.
Yeah, I didn't either. You could ask Coach Foster about it. He could probably give a better description of that. But he supposedly you can have too many, or you have to have so many working towards your major. But somehow they had to fix something. I know there was a little issue at the start of the season.
Well, what was the, I guess, what's the end been like? Obviously your Purdue playing career came to an end. Just, I guess, have you made that transition now from being a college player to kind of looking ahead to the pros?
Yeah. Yes and no, I guess. It's hard because I still think about the Kansas game all the time. It's something that I'll probably never get over, unfortunately. It's when you have a game like that and you're so close to winning and you give so much of an effort, it stinks. So, but at the same time, I've been looking to St. Vincent's. I've signed with my agent, so a lot's been going on.
All right, we do have some questions, and we didn't ask Rob to prepare heavily for this, but he was born prepared. But a good question on this.
Born ready.
Born ready. What moment or moments are your favorite over the last 5 years? And this is from Guerin saying the 5-second call versus West Virginia on New Year's Day was one of your years, and when the crowd got going. Talk about those. I'll even throw in my favorite, which is my favorite cover, the For Sure cover, and that was kind of the same moment against Wisconsin back in your freshman year. But tell us what yours were.
Yeah, there's been so many. It's hard to pick one or two. You mentioned Wisconsin, you mentioned West Virginia. Those 2 are obviously pretty awesome moments, and I think my career at Purdue here. It always obviously helps when you win the game. So, but yeah, there's been so many. It's winning at Wisconsin, my junior year winning at Michigan State, God, it's hard to narrow them down, but the West Virginia, the 5-second call, I think it's probably the loudest I've ever heard Mackey get. It was just an unreal sound level there. The Wisconsin game was pretty fun here at home because it kind of, and we beat a ranked team.
Yeah.
We had beaten Louisville, but they had like 4 guys injured, so it really didn't count. And especially after losing to Wofford and losing to Iowa State in Las Vegas, that was brutal. So to finally start getting over the hump and start beating some of those teams was great.
Yeah, you caused us so much angst on our message boards losing to Wofford, but
Yeah.
I know you'll make it up.
Complete
I know you'll make it up. You've made it up to us since then. No, that also shows you what this career is about. It wasn't all perfect. I mean, you had to build up. You came in and yeah, you had the win over Louisville, but you had some highs and lows in that first month and a half before things really got rolling.
Yeah, and we almost lost to Ball State. We almost lost to Lipscomb.
Yeah.
I mean, it was ugly there for a while. I remember watching Etuan run, and it just looked like he was running in quicksand our freshman, until January or February, and then he got it going. So we were struggling. It was some rough times there.
Yeah.
What was it about that team that made it so good so fast after that point in time where obviously you had some growing pains early on, but it just seemed like from then on you guys really clicked? What was it about that team that was so young? I mean, you were all sophomores and freshmen.
I think it really helped in the sense that the class that we came out of was so strong. I think that you prepared yourself in AAU from an early age. You're playing against guys, we played in the Peach Jam finals against Eric Gordon and Derrick Rose. So coming into the Big Ten usually, which is such a difficult thing, but you're playing against NBA guys in AAU. So I think that helped us a lot. I think we had a pretty mature group of freshmen that were able to pick things up pretty fast. And we kind of got thrown into the fire. So you saw us play horrible for November and December, and then in January we finally started to get it going.
Yeah, I have to say one of the games that I thought that year that it's kind of funny, game you didn't play in, where I thought maybe this group is the Michigan State game on the road, a game Purdue should have won. I think you were sick or whatever that situation was, but that showed that group. So really, you had very little to do with the success of the program in the last 5 years.
It was.
But no, in all seriousness, that made me say, kind of wake up and say this group can get it done.
Yeah, I remember the game. I think Marcus Green played very well. Nemia played very well. I think Kramer played really well. So once we played well up there, it was almost like one of those things where hey, we can compete in this league, because Michigan State was one of the top teams in the league that year.
Yeah, no question. We have lots of questions, some really funny that I'll let you read later.
Some usable, some not so much.
Your best and worst, and a lot of best and worst experiences with Coach Painter. I thought at the banquet, Ryan Smith was hard to outdo in terms of his stand-up routine. I thought you were in kind of a tough position to have to come back as number 3.
He had to follow Lewis.
And Lewis was really good as well. But talk about you took it easy on the coach, but some of what have you learned most from Coach Painter, but also there's another side of him that people don't see in terms of his personality.
Yeah, and Coach Painter is great for us because he tells you what you need to hear basketball-wise, but at the same time he certainly cares about you. He wants you to succeed in life. It's more than just basketball with him. So I think everybody on the team has a good relationship with him. It can be hard sometimes because he's trying to get the most out of you, and with college basketball, with the highs and lows that they have, he's probably not going to be happy with you 100% of the time. So, but he's very special to me. He's done a lot for me. He's stood by me through the tough times. I'm trying to think of a story that would be funny to tell. But maybe we can come back to that.
Oh, yeah,
I'll think about it. I'll think about it, and I'll think about my
what I thought was funny at the banquet is that you obviously got under his skin because he was sitting there just cracking up. I mean, almost lost it up there. And I think Ryan Smith and Lewis really somehow got the nerve going, and all those guys were just laughing like crazy. Anyway.
Just the one thing I've always wanted to ask you about him is he obviously is a pretty intense coach. I'm sure the volume of his voice escalates pretty quickly in practice. He's also got a great sense of humor. He's a very sarcastic guy. Do those things ever meet to the point where you're getting yelled at and you have a hard time keeping a straight face?
Yeah, they do. And he's got some sayings that he loves to say that end up being kind of funny. Especially when I was hurt, I would see it a lot because I'd be sitting there watching practice and he'd just rip a guy, for not playing hard or not playing defense or not doing something. And he'd come over to me and crack a joke. And it's like, how do you go from being this guy that's so intense here, and then he just turns it off and comes over and makes a joke about it over here. So he's got a very unique personality, like you said. I mean, he's really funny, but at the same time, he's pretty good at raising his voice and letting you know what you need to do.
This year was obviously an interesting year just because of the. You started out very well early in the season. Then obviously with the trouble shooting the basketball and the team struggling in January. Is there a time he pushed you, or was he pushing you to say, hey, I know you can do better, or was he more of an understanding guy that, hey, I understand this takes time for you to get back to the level that you need that we expect? What was that dynamic
with
like?
me? He was pretty understanding, I think, and with Lewis, he was understanding what was going on. Lewis shared the story about how he told him to rehab at the top of the stairs and to run to the top at the banquet, but I think he knew that we were trying our best. We knew we were trying to do some things that we weren't ready to do yet. And in terms with me, I was probably taking some bad shots. So I was forcing some things and thinking that I had to do too much. And then once we got into that groove, I kind of settled in. But he was, always pretty positive. There's maybe a few times where he got on us about bad shot selection or something else. But he supported us basically 100% of the time.
Yeah.
Just kind of going back to this past season, you just kind of talked about obviously you hadn't played for a year and a half. There was a little bit of a transition there in terms of the role you had to play, being a role that was something you had never really played ever in your life.
Yeah.
I think I don't know if I talked to your dad before the year, and he said you haven't really played that role since you were like playing YMCA ball.
Yeah.
Just how hard was that transition, having to be that guy who, you know, not necessarily had to shoot 25 times a game, but had to make plays that many times a game?
I think what was really special about our team my junior year was that we had three guys that were kind of making plays at the end of the game. Then you have Keaton Grant, who made big shots as well, and Kramer was kind of the glue that held it all together. But then this year, like you said, I had to come into a role that I'd never played, probably since I was 6 or 7 years old, because I'd always played on teams with very good players. I'd been with Scott in high school, and he was a monster, so it made sense to feed him the ball. Then you go to AU, you have Scott and Etuan, that makes sense. Then I get here, and I have a bunch of guys that can score. So it was different, but I think as time went on, I started to kind of ease into it and get more used to it.
You never know who's lurking out there, nor do I because I have some guesses as somebody that Rob knows well is doing. But this is I think this is a good question. It ties in. We wanted, Brian had said before, we want to make sure we don't forget the fact there's spring football tomorrow afternoon. Of course, Rob will be making a trip up to see his brother tomorrow night. Purdue plays its game at 1 o'clock tomorrow. But guest rumors said that your favorite football player is Dennis Kelly. Do you wish he would have been utilized more in short yardage goal line situations? But also, he has tremendous heart, and you were jealous also of his hair. All true?
There might have been a
do you know who this is now?
I have an idea. There might have been a rogue caller to the postgame show after a 43-0 win or something like that. That decided to call into the show. It might have been me.
Yeah.
But in all fairness, I believe the guy that's calling in right now is the reason that I did. He egged me on and gave me the number for the postgame show. So I'm going to say it was his fault.
Okay, I think we both know.
All right, well, I also want to chime in and say I think Dennis Kelly would be outstanding in short yardage situations, though. So whoever it was who made this call might have been honest.
But would Rob Hummel be a possession receiver? I know your brother is we talked about as a possession receiver, but if you played football, I think you could play at your size. You wouldn't want. Yeah, you could even handle getting hit, I suppose.
I don't know if I'd be a good football player for Purdue. I maybe would serve the track team decently, but I don't know about football.
Yeah, I liked your story with Mark Monteith, friend of the show, that had you on last week talking about your last year in high school and the fact that you ran some track. I think you actually had a meet up here at one point in time, and a lot of people came to see you. But talk about the fact that playing basketball, putting all that focus on that from a young age, and then having the chance to do other things. You obviously like other things in sports. You're an athletic type person, but do you think it's essential for somebody to make it to the level that you made it to focus like that, or is there an ability to play a couple different sports depending on the situation?
Yeah, and I think you can play a couple different sports. It's not like it's something where you have to specialize and only play one. It's fun to do other things. You can't, if you play basketball all the time, you're going to burn yourself out. So especially in high school, once you get to college, I think you can kind of specialize and do that. But for me, I know me and Scott were just kind of sitting around. The track coach was a cool guy. He came up to us and said, hey, I know you have basketball. I know that you're going to want to put some work into that, but if you have a few extra days where you're not doing anything, I'd love to have you guys come out to practice for the track team. And he wanted us to high jump and long jump. Since we could dunk and stuff, he thought we'd be good. Scott was actually really good. He won the sectional. I was terrible. I broke a high jump bar. I was jumping like 10 feet in the long jump. I was like, God, I hate this. So I tried it for like 2 weeks. I eventually went to the coach. I was like, it's not fun being this bad.
Yeah.
I mean, people were laughing at me in practice about how bad I am to high jump. So I kind of said, I ran the mile in middle school. I was pretty good at it, but I really don't want to run that far. Something else, if you want to give me a chance, I'd love to try it. So they put me in the 400, and I was running terrible times, and like 55 and 54, and I was getting blown away. But then at the sectional, I randomly ran a 50 and ended up winning the sectional, which was out of nowhere. And I think it was the only race I actually won all year. And then I went to the regional and got shown what the Gary.
Yeah, you had the
was.
Gary contingent blown by you.
Yeah. So, but it was fun. I think it was something that I look back on. And the coaches were cool. A lot of my friends were on the track team, so it was a good time.
And that's part of the experience, that's for sure. A comment from Gary, and I got to read these first before it. Which of the 5 guys next year do you see making the biggest impact? And maybe that's a tough question, but some guys made some strides this year, obviously, and this cupboard is not bare for Purdue men's basketball. But talk about some of the guys that you expect to become maybe all Big Ten level players. Yeah,
I think DJ will continue to progress from this season and do it, continue to do what he had been doing. I think Tyrone will be a key contingent. And I would say out of the guys that are the newcomers, I think just Donnie Hale has a huge advantage because he's been in the system. He's played with college guys for a year, so he's got a huge leg up. And by the end of the season, Donnie was really tough to guard in practice. He's a good rebounder, and I think he can be definitely a solid contributor for us next year.
Yeah. Oh, we have a question here I want to get to.
How
ahead. Much better is Stacy as an interviewer than me?
Stacy's really good with like the personal narratives, Brian, and you're more of like the gritty news stories.
God,
that's my
identity,
huh?
I think politics after coaching or after playing, it will be good for you. It would be excellent.
Stacy tends to make more sense.
All right, now we're going to ask you another impossible question because you're going to have to dance your way around, but not a bad question. But who would you rather be drafted by, the Celtics or the Bulls?
Or the Grizzlies.
Or the Grizzlies. Honestly, I would play for an NBA team if they were in Alaska.
Understood.
Does not matter to me. But I've grown up a Bulls fan, so that would be cool. I'm obviously a fan of Etuan and Juwan and what the Celtics have done, so it'd be cool to play with them again. But honestly, I do not care at all. Are
you hearing from those guys much? I mean, obviously they've had an interesting and some good, some I'm sure difficult experience. But what's it been like to watch them from afar? And have you been able to talk to those guys a lot?
Yeah, I talk to those guys pretty often still, probably once a week. We just kind of talk. It's not always about basketball. It's just about kind of life in general. So. But it's been fun to watch them. I wish they were playing more. I know they wish they were playing more. It's different when you go from in college. You're playing unlimited, all the minutes you want, and then you get to the NBA and you're sitting behind Paul Pierce and Ray Allen and Kevin Garnett, and it's clearly tough. But I think that they're learning and doing the best they can.
Yeah, and it's going to be an ongoing process for them. That's for sure. Will you feel a sense of validation when Purdue gets the Final Four of the national title, knowing that your class rejuvenated the program? That's somewhat rhetorical in nature, but talk about the fact, this is, with all the success that you've had here and taking the program to a record number of wins. You didn't get to the Final Four. A lot of people haven't. But talk about how you look at legacy and how important that was to you this year, but also throughout your 5 years here.
Yeah. In terms of legacy, I really wasn't as concerned about while I was playing. I really just didn't want to be remembered for the guy that always screwed everything up by hurting his knee.
Yeah,
so
understood.
It was good to play well at the end of the year and kind of, I guess, erase some of those, thoughts. But I think it'd be great to see Purdue go to the Final Four. When we do, I will be there. I promise. I will be in the stands. So it kills me though that we never got there. We were walking to the game at the Superdome. It was me and Ronald Norad from Butler, and I told him, I said, I might need to get into college coaching because I want to know what it feels like to ride that bus to the stadium. So it's an incredible feeling. Just the buzz around the game is so just unreal, and I think Purdue deserves it. I think Coach Perrin's going to do a good job and get us there. Yeah.
All right, we're going to take a short break and roll some commercials and let Rob come up for air. We have about another 4 rolls of questions. So, but we're getting to them one at a time. But we'll look forward to seeing you in a couple of minutes. Stay tuned on Gold and Black Live.
Just one night. One team victorious. The story behind the score. The rivalries. The big plays. From the sidelines to you. On the air, online. Are you ready for the frenzy? Friday Night Frenzy. High school football from where you live.
Check out the Purdue collection now at Follett's. Boiler up with Nike Fantastic T-shirts, League and Champion fashion colors. Simply fabulous, simply Follett's. Purdue pride everywhere on game day. Nike sideline, worn by the team, by the players, and by you. And make every day game day with tailgate toss. Follett's, Purdue pride, a Purdue tradition, 17 game day locations.
West Point Steakhouse is a family-owned restaurant known for premium quality steaks. Open for dinner Thursday through Saturday. Stop by for the Thursday night prime rib special or Friday and Saturday night specials like pasta and seafood. Be sure to come and enjoy all the food and fun at West Point Steakhouse.
You can now get a quote or buy car insurance 24 hours a day. Call me, State Farm Agent Trent Johnson, at 743-9595 and see how much money you can save today.
Going to the Purdue game? Stay at Hilton Garden Inn, West Lafayette at the Wabash Landing. Your family will love the well-appointed guest rooms, the pool, whirlpool, fitness center, the breakfast buffet, and the amazing Hilton Garden Inn staff. Located just 4 blocks from Purdue University, Hilton Garden Inn has long been the choice for Purdue fans. Call today for a reservation and make Hilton Garden Inn your #1 choice.
When you see it happen, report it. Send us your news stories, photos, and videos with our Report It feature. It's easy with WLFI.com and the WLFI smartphone app. With a few simple clicks, you can send videos and photos of breaking news coverage. See your submissions on air as part of our broadcast or online in the Report It gallery. WLFI.com. Always mobile, always connected.
Welcome back, segment 2 of Gold and Black Live. You're still with us, and we're glad. Our sponsors, Hilton Garden Inn, State Farm Agent Trent Johnson, Follett's Purdue West, Follett's Purdue Pride, and of course, Rob Hummel will be there tomorrow, 10:30 to 12:30. You can see him live and in person. And we'll be doing a signing tomorrow. That's after the Purdue Challenge, the race at 8:30 tomorrow morning. The signing 10:30 to 12:30, and rain or shine, because it's going to be inside, we're going to be there. And I think we're going to also, who knows, maybe the weather will be a little bit better tomorrow. Rob, you have a chance. Obviously, you're now kind of you've always been a public guy and never been afraid to be out in front of folks, but now you're not going to kind of going to the next level, not only the professional level, but also all the people that want to kind of an emotional connection to you from being a fan. What is that like? Do you think about that much, and the fact that when people walk down the street and they don't say anything to you, but there's Rob Hummel, that type of thing. How do you deal with that?
It's something that's kind of surreal because. Just from being around guys like, I see Juwan, I see Coach Painter a lot, I see, we saw Etuan a lot when we were playing together, so you kind of, I guess, forget, like, the fact that we play on ESPN and stuff like that. So I guess I get excited. I remember being a little kid and watching just VU play and thinking it was so cool when I got to get their autographs and stuff like that. So it's hard for me to believe that people would say that, but I guess it's a nice thing to have, and people have always been really nice. So.
And number of Twitter followers you have? 12,000 or so?
Actually, after the Kansas game, it went up a lot. I think I have like 15.
Can we borrow some of yours? We have about half of that. We'd like to have half of them, but go ahead.
We're at about a third, actually.
Yeah.
Just
we worked hard for that third, too.
Yeah. Obviously, 4 or 5 years now, you've been maybe one of the most recognizable guys on campus. Obviously, Juwan's 6'10", so he was right up there. But what's that going to be like next year? Kind of maybe, are you going to enjoy some anonymity, or are you going to miss the attention? Or
No, I won't miss it. I promise you I won't. It'll be something that'll be good to hopefully be, I guess, you know, when you get drafted, you obviously don't go in unless you're the number 1, number 2 pick as a guy that can be an instant game changer. So it will be nice to kind of live a different lifestyle, not lifestyle, but just kind of be more behind the scenes.
Because there are a lot of guys playing in the NBA right now, or playing professional basketball in general, who you could just walk up to on the street and say, that guy plays in the NBA.
Sure.
You're probably not one of them.
No, probably not. I probably just look like a tall guy that would be walking down the street.
Yeah.
So.
We got a lot of guest questions there. I love this one. For Brian and Alan, do you wish Robbie was your son? Yes. I'd like to be his agent too, because I think he's going to make it big, and I like that percentage game. But I wish he was my son. Only I am proud of the fact that he played at Purdue, only because of the character he's shown. Brian, you want to answer? Since you have a daughter.
If he was my son, that would mean I had a kid when I was 13 years old. So I don't think I would have been in a position to take very good care of him then, because I was a real idiot when I was 13.
I was only 16 then, so no, that's not quite true. We're not doing the math here very well. Question we get asked, and you've been asked a time or two, and I've always answered it well, I think, but you and Scott Martin ever swap stories about your respective college basketball experience, and was it tough seeing him head out to Notre Dame?
Yeah, with Scott, it was hard to watch him go because we played together for so long. It'd been probably since we grew up playing soccer together in like 1st grade, and then we started playing basketball together in 5th grade, and then he came over to Valpo from a little farm school that's in Valparaiso, but he came over in 8th grade and played on our middle school team, then through high school, AAU, high school ball, and then he came to college with me. So when he left, it was tough because it was like, you know, me and Scott have been through so much. It was hard, but we still talk. We're still friends, and yeah, we've talked to him about the difference between Notre Dame and Purdue, you know, I think it worked out the best for him. He's happy at Notre Dame, and that's the best thing for him.
And Purdue and Notre Dame, I think, will finally play in a regular season next year in Indianapolis.
Yeah. Let's just talk a little bit about, you know, Purdue's class of 2007. Obviously, the remnants of it, the guys who stayed, you, Juwan, and Etuan.
Yep.
Do you, I mean, is it easy to focus on everything you accomplished without thinking of what almost was?
Yeah, and now it's not, because I'll always take that junior season pretty hard, because we were one of the top 3 teams in the country at that point. We were playing so well, and we'd won at all these crazy places to play. We'd won at Michigan State, we won at Ohio State, we won in Indiana. We were about to, I think, blow Minnesota out at the barn. So it was tough to swallow, and then to watch us lose to Duke again after they had handled us so easily my sophomore year. It was tough to watch.
Now, just that class, obviously 3 guys who were really, really good players. They all stayed together for a long period of time. Is that almost a class that you just aren't going to see very many of anymore in college basketball? Because ordinarily, when guys are that good, that fast, you're going to see some of them leave.
Yeah, and I think that's a very unique situation in terms of what we had. Where we had 3 guys that had played a lot of minutes from freshman year on and had some success and stayed in college for 4 years. It would have been interesting to see my junior year if we had gone to the Final Four and won and had serious success in the NCAA tournament. If guys would have stayed or left, but I guess that's one of those things where you'll never know.
Yeah. Question about from Rob Raney on looking back, and I'll follow up after this question. But you think of there's ever going to be an Indiana All-Star team as loaded as your team in 2007, or it would have been 2017.
Yeah.
But I mean, and then I want to ask it also as a follow-up before you even get a chance to answer: is why is it used to be there were 3 or 4, or 4 to 6 true high Division I players in the state of Indiana. Has the water changed? I mean, there just seems to be so much talent in this state, and it seems to have changed in the last 7-8 years. So
yeah, in terms of the class of 07 and our All-Star team, I remember there was an article that was written where the guys on the team were like, this might be the best team ever, and you look at what people have done in college and what they're doing in the NBA at this point, and you have Eric Gordon, Jeff Teague, who are, Eric Gordon's an NBA All-Star, Jeff Teague's kind of on the verge of that, and you have Juwan and Etuan. Then you have guys like myself, Scott, Matt Howard, it was incredible, really. And you looked at Kentucky's team, and I think their Mr. Basketball was going to a D3 school or something like that. So it really wasn't fair. I think their best player actually went to Louisville, but it was incredible to be in that team, and just to play with those guys and have that experience was a lot of fun. It was a really cool 2 weeks. And in terms of Indiana, I think it's just the state is so basketball crazy. You have just people that want to play the game. Then you look at like the grassroots systems, and AAU basketball is big, so guys are growing up from an early age and playing.
Yeah, and I think that's it's going to be and I think you said, and I've heard you say before, plenty of room for Indiana, IU, and Purdue to get talent. There's been a lot of talk about how Indiana's recruited well the last 2 or 3 years, especially, and not that Purdue hasn't, but it's not over for Purdue, so to speak. There's still players to be had.
Sure. Yeah, and I think this next class coming in is a perfect example of that, where Indiana has a very good class, but at the same time, Purdue's got a class of guys from Indiana that are just as good as that class that IU has. So.
Yeah. Just when you're an in-state player playing at Purdue, just is that something that kind of motivates you a little bit, that you represent your state, especially for you, because being from Valparaiso,
sure,
it was almost like you were naturally associated with your hometown all the time.
Yeah, yeah. I think the guys that play here for sure have a sense of pride about playing for Purdue, and it is a state school. Somebody doesn't get recognized as that, but I think that's why it was so fun for the first 4 years that we were here, while we were beating Indiana so bad, because it was something that was enjoyable. It was it was almost like we owned the state in that sense. So they got us back this year, which was unfortunate, but I think Coach Painter's done a good job, and will continue to do a good job in that rivalry.
Do you think in the AAU, because you get guys like Lewis Jackson plays with Tyler Zeller, you get guys you forge friendships on the road, literally in high school. Is it hard to go? Because you'd said something about the fact that now that Indiana and Purdue, the players, maybe while the game is going on, don't like each other all that well, which is good for the rivalry. But is it hard to turn that on and off when you've had guys you've played with throughout the course of whether you're on the same team or you're around them in AAU? Does that make it a little bit different than it used to be, where you were always funneled to the school and kind of separated all the way through?
No, it does make it different, and it's crazy how in the Big Ten, especially in my class, we played so many of the guys that were coming into Big Ten schools. We'd played Kalen Lucas a bunch of times. We'd played McCamey and all those guys at Illinois, Manny Harris, yeah. So you kind of forge friendships with them. You're at Nike camp with them, all that stuff. So that's what was unique about Indiana, though, was the sense that I didn't know any of the guys on their team, and I would honestly say that if you asked any of the guys on our team, we don't like them, and honestly, they don't like us. So it was unique, but it'll be different now that I think those guys have played together that are coming in. So
yeah. Yeah, you got some guys that played in the same AAU team, and that will make it. The rivalry is important, even in losing the 2 games this year. It is something that you have had a chance to experience in terms of how difficult it is to play down there. Sure. Is that even though they maybe not had the best teams per se? When your freshman year, they were obviously very good with DJ White. But talk about your toughest arenas and to play in and where maybe Assembly Hall ranks.
Assembly Hall is probably number 1. To be honest, it's their crowd is pretty unbelievable with how loud it gets, and there's times where I look back to my junior year and. There's a play where Jordan Holes hits a 3 to go up by 1, and Juwan gets knocked over, and it just felt like a bomb had gone on. Yeah. It was like unbelievable loud. But that's another perfect example right there. I think they were last place in the Big Ten. We won by 3, and we came out and we were like, that's a good win. Yeah. Because it's so tough to play there. So the Breslin Center is obviously tough. I think the Cole Center is tough. Assembly Hall at Illinois. Value City Arena at Ohio State is better now. The students are closer to the court. Minnesota, they're all tough. There's not an easy game in the Big Ten.
Yeah. For the first couple of years of your career, obviously Mackey was a really, really difficult place to play. Sure. Did you feel like it was the same way this year, with maybe not the renovation as much, but also, perhaps there were some games where there were a few empties?
Yeah, no, I think Mackey is a great place to play. Mm-hmm. Like you said, I don't think the attendance was as good this year as it had been in the past. But that's really our fault. We should have won more games at home. I think our home record of the Big Ten was average to poor at best this year. So it's unfortunate because, like you said, for the first 4 years being here, it was almost like it was impossible to win at Mackey Arena. And if that had been the case this year, we would have had a much higher seed.
How about the creature comforts, though? And I know you guys have talked about just the locker rooms and everything else, and you, I guess that's one benefit of having to play a fifth year is you got the full experience of having the renovated building finished. But what was that like for you?
Yeah, the new facilities are great. I think the weight room will be very beneficial. The strength coaches have done a very good job of getting the guys kind of on board and doing what they need to do to improve. Then you look at the other things. The locker room is great, especially compared to what we had. I think the new film room will be beneficial. The lounge is very nice. Then you look at just the things for the fans, where it's the bigger concourses, the clubs. It'll all help Purdue in the end.
Yeah, no question. What you mentioned, and I'm stealing Brian Thunder here, but on a question about AAU, and a lot of talk about the shady side of AAU, and you may have seen some of that in your experience. Is that reality? And I know that you guys were fortunate to play on in a little bit different situation. But did you see firsthand some things going on that you knew shouldn't be going on?
Sure. And I think AAU is a crazy business. I feel for our assistants and Coach Painter because they have to deal with it on if not monthly, but weekly and daily basis. So there were certainly things that you saw that you were like, that's kind of weird, and you heard rumors about certain things. But I think our group was pretty protected from that when we were there, and it was always just really about basketball.
Yeah.
So there weren't people throwing bags of money at Robbie Hummel?
No, that never happened. Yeah, I know. It would have been nice, I guess.
You should have caught it if they did.
Yeah.
He's joking.
Yeah. He's joking. Though we did hand him a check before that, but this show today, but that has to do with tomorrow's signing. He can be a pro now, so that's a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
This is another question I know that probably from somebody now. What is your obsession with Joe Barry Carroll? That has to be from somebody that we know. Joe Barry Carroll, an All-American player at Purdue in 1980 when I was in school. So there are no similarities between the two, unless you really do have an obsession with Joe Barry Carroll.
No, not an obsession. One of my buddies was a manager. His name was Alex.
Yeah.
He's a big fan of Joe and what he did, and I think his dad might have known him when he was a manager. So he's kind of showed me some of his games and stuff, and I like the way he plays.
Yeah, and he was really good. I mean, like I said, he was Purdue had the alley oop to him, and he was about as unstoppable a college player as you can get, certainly. Looking back to, I'm trying to sift through all these questions here, but looking ahead now, what's on your itinerary? Obviously, you've got 3 weeks left of class, or 2 weeks left of class, and your two finals. But what's next for you in the next month in terms of training, and then obviously getting ready for the draft in June?
Yeah. Well, like I said, until graduation, I'll be in Indianapolis at St. Vincent's. After I graduate, I think Mark wants to bring me up to Chicago and work out up there. So I'll do that, and then that's when you go to hopefully if I'm invited, I'll go to the draft combine. And then you start working out for teams. So they fly in. I think it's the way it works. They fly in 2 guards, 2 forwards, and 2 centers, and you do shooting, and you play some 3-on-3, and they kind of evaluate you from there.
Let me just ask you, potentially for the last time, how's your knee?
No, my knee is good. It's been good. I think this weight training is going to really help in the sense that I can strengthen my legs and really give me a boost there. I think I still haven't fully gotten back to being, not that I was a great athlete, but as explosive as I was before. So it's something that they keep telling me it's going to come, and I think with that weight training it will really help.
How much better will you be 6 months from now than you are right now? That's usually the trajectory.
I've talked to Mark about this, and he's told me that in 6 months you won't recognize yourself, which if that's the case, then that's great, because I feel pretty good right now.
Yeah, I was going to say on a percentage basis, I mean, you say maybe because you don't know what the high end can be, but is it 75%, or is it? I mean, how do you view?
Yeah, that's a good question, because I don't think I actually know. I think basketball skill-wise, I've gotten basically back to where I was, and maybe I might even be a little bit better, I think, than I was before I got hurt. But in terms of the jumping and the running and the cutting, I don't think I'm all the way back yet.
All right, we're going to let him come up for air for break number 2, and we'll be back with Stacy joining us, and she's going to ask all these touchy-feely questions.
Yeah.
I promise.
If you were a tree,
Rob,
what kind of tree
I think
would you
Rob
be?
can bring us. We're going to give him some water so he can throw some tears on him. We're going to get him in tears here in the last 20 minutes. I think we can do that. All right, stay tuned for a couple minutes. We'll look forward to seeing you for the final segment with Rob Hummel on Gold and Black Live.
one night. One team victorious. The story behind the score. The rivalries. The big plays. From the sidelines to you. On the air, online. Are you ready for the frenzy? Friday Night Frenzy. High school football from where you live.
Check out the Purdue collection now at Follett's. Boiler up with Nike Fantastic T-shirts, League and Champion fashion colors. Simply fabulous, simply Follett's. Purdue pride everywhere on game day. Nike sideline, worn by the team, by the players, and by you. And make every day game day with tailgate toss. Follett's, Purdue pride, a Purdue tradition, 17 game day locations.
West Point Steakhouse is a family-owned restaurant known for premium quality steaks. Open for dinner Thursday through Saturday. Stop by for the Thursday night prime rib special or Friday and Saturday night specials like pasta and seafood. Be sure to come and enjoy all the food and fun at West Point Steakhouse.
You can now get a quote or buy car insurance 24 hours a day. Call me, State Farm Agent Trent Johnson, at 743-9595 and see how much money you can save today.
Going to the Purdue game? Stay at Hilton Garden Inn, West Lafayette at the Wabash Landing. Your family will love the well-appointed guest rooms, the pool, whirlpool, fitness center, the breakfast buffet, and the amazing Hilton Garden Inn staff. Located just 4 blocks from Purdue University, Hilton Garden Inn has long been the choice for Purdue fans. Call today for a reservation and make Hilton Garden Inn your #1 choice.
When you see it happen, report it. Send us your news stories, photos, and videos with our Report It feature. It's easy with WLFI.com and the WLFI smartphone app. With a few simple clicks, you can send videos and photos of breaking news coverage. See your submissions on air as part of our broadcast or online in the Report It gallery. WLFI.com. Always mobile, always connected.
The red light is on. That means we're here, and we're still here for segment 3, Gold and Black Live. Rob Hummel, Stacy Clarity at the far end. She's already been on the show a little bit. We've already asked some hard-hitting questions for her. But Stacy, welcome.
That's my MO, the hard-hitting questions.
Yeah, I know. We're gonna dispel that notion that you're just a feature person and that's all you do, because she can ask tough questions too. I know Rob's really nervous about that as well.
I got a list.
Yeah. We're still trying to figure out who some of these questions are coming from, but we've talked about Matt Painter a little bit.
So I don't get to start? I come on and I don't get to ask the first question?
All right, go ahead. Go ahead. I'm going to defer. Absolutely. It's all
so
you.
I kind of want to dispel this notion that you're like this perfect guy. So, which, I mean, you know, you're a great guy, you're sincere, you're genuine, all of those things, but you got to have some bad habits.
Sure.
Can you, let's.
I think my roommates can answer this question better.
I know,
but,
probably, right? Let's get the polish off of Robbie Hummel.
I'm not good at cleaning my room. I'm not good at making my bed.
Hear that.
Trying to think what else would be good for the show.
You a procrastinator?
I'm a serious procrastinator, yes. Yes, my mom would attest to that.
And there goes Brian
There's
across
Brian
our
right
screen.
across the screen. That's good.
We're on right now.
Oh, my bad.
But yeah, no, I definitely have some serious flaws. I think that Drew, John, they could probably address that a little bit better.
But I mean, in terms of studying, and you're obviously done well academically, but I'm trying to, because my kids are going to watch this eventually, and you've already dispelled something about not making your bed, because we tell them every morning that Rob Hummel makes his bed.
That would be a lie then.
It's okay, but what, in terms of, I mean, how, all the effort you've put into not only the emotional effort with the ups and downs of your career, but how do you bring it back together when you come home and you know you got to get 5 hours worth of studying done?
Sure.
I mean, what's the key to that?
Just knowing that if you don't do it, you're going to do terrible on the test. That really will. That's a hard feeling to have, especially when you go into an exam and you're not prepared. So, I think I was better probably at studying in the past than I have been this year. Although my grades have actually been surprisingly decent. So, I think just knowing though that academics are very important and doing the best you can in those tests, because you'll have some tough situations, especially when you play collegiate athletics, where you travel and you get in late and it's like, God, I don't want to study, I just want to go to bed. But you have to do what's best for your academics as well.
Yeah, and you came from a good academic high school too, so
For
that
sure,
helps
for
from that
sure.
standpoint. Go ahead, Stacy. You have another question?
New Orleans, did you have a good time?
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. It was fun being down there with Ryan. Definitely.
Yeah. Any good Ryan stories from the trip?
He rode a mechanical bull. It was pretty entertaining to watch. So he was terrible at it. He fell off. I have video if you'd like to see after the show.
That would be awesome.
He was funny.
You didn't ride the bull? Huh?
No. He had to sign a waiver and everything. And I was like, I'll just watch Ryan do his thing.
Yeah. We could have a whole other show on all the other things you can't say, but that's all right. No, we won't do it. We're actually big, even though we're in this business of the internet. I love the fact that, I hope for the fact that these guys can have some form of privacy and do something that's not tweeted or sent all over the world. Though it's always nice when he tells us stuff like that. Don't get me wrong. All right, Coach Painter, have you heard if Coach Painter is considering instilling a full court press with next season's team? He hadn't told you.
If he did, it would be news to me. I think that we will play man-to-man. I think you'll probably see the point guard jam the ball like you've seen for the last 7 years of Coach Painter's career. I don't think anything will change.
Yeah, and I get a kick out of that. Not a terrible question, but it's not like Purdue doesn't provide pressure. I did think Lewis's comments about not having to jam the ball the last 7 or 8 games, but the guys are running up and down the court. I still don't know how he does it from a cardiovascular standpoint.
Lewis is in phenomenal shape to do what he does with the jamming and then the running the point and doing all that. It's incredible.
Falling down every.
And he still was able to get a dunk this year.
Yeah, no, that was good for Lewis. I know it was big for him. He wanted to do that, especially because in high school he had this reputation of being such a serious dunker. But it was cool to watch him finally get that done.
So he tied you with one.
You can count me for
this
2.
Year. No, I see. This is the debate you and I always have. When you look at the official stats.
Well, official stats would be 1. But if you see on TV at the end of the half at Penn State.
Penn State, I was there.
I did get a dunk. And then we lost by 30.
So that counts.
Yeah.
That was the turning point in the game.
God,
it was the dunk that didn't count.
Sure.
That game
So how many did you have for your career then? I went and looked back and I saw you had 2 then in 9, 10.
We have this debate.
So are you
all the
going to be
time.
more than Travis? Because that was like the thing, right? I mean,
The
how
bet
far
was who would
ahead
get
of?
more dunks? I have
Yeah,
at
are you
least
ahead of
13
him?
dunks ahead of Trav. So I
think
think
seriously 13.
my freshman year I had a lot of dunks.
Did you?
I did. For me.
I can't find it.
Well, I'm going to go back when I have nothing to do, and I'm going to go through every
We will run
game,
that in gold and black.
and I'm going to make a highlight of every one of my dunks. I'm going to send it to J.R. Reynolds, our strength and conditioning guidance assistant, who makes me sound like I'm the most unathletic person to ever play college.
No, but you had one of the best ones this year in all of college basketball.
Yeah, exactly.
It was awesome.
Exactly. It was a
I
fluke.
agree. It was. I'm not saying it wasn't good. I just am, getting on him because I know he always likes to count the one that didn't count.
Yeah. No, I'm going to make a little tape, and I'm going to send it to you guys.
I appreciate that.
We'll put it on the site.
We promise we'll do
sweet.
that. Talk a little bit about, you talked a little bit about Donnie Hale, but a guy that comes in, Adam had a question about just what specifically, here's a guy that, it seems like he's going to be 30 by the time he graduates. But
You thought I was old.
Yeah.
You're in for a
But in all
surprise.
seriousness, the benefit to him of sitting a year, and yet you saw that improvement throughout the course of the season.
Yeah, and he definitely was better at the end of the season than he was at the start, and that's what you want. I think he did a good job working hard. He's trying to gain weight, and I think that'll be big for him. But he's long. He's very athletic. He's going to be, I think, a guy that can block shots and do a lot of things for Purdue. So I look for him to be a very good player.
Yeah.
What's another hard-hitting question for me. What's your strategy tomorrow for the autograph session? Have you ever sat down for like 2 hours and you're going to do hand stretches or something? Like
no,
how do you prepare?
tunnel.
How do you prepare for that? Switch over to the left after a while.
With the low stuff, we signed a bunch
Did
of
you?
things. Actually, Indiana All-Stars was the ultimate preparation for signing autographs because we had Eric Gordon on our team. So everyone wanted his autograph, and when they got his, they'd come and get the rest of us bums. So that was a good preparation. But I think I'll just talk to everybody and sign whatever they want me to sign.
Yeah.
What's the weirdest thing you've signed? Have you had to sign a body part or anything?
Yeah.
You did?
I did. Actually, the day that that's an anonymous caller called into the call-in show and I signed the body part. I've signed kids' arms before, Gatorade cups. I guess for the most part, pretty normal things.
We are that anonymous person. We are willing to make a regular on the post-game football call and show if you want. Whoever that anonymous person is.
If he doesn't have anything to do it on a Saturday,
my guess is you'll have something to do.
Year.
But there's always we can get that person the.
Look out for JD from Warsaw. He was a one-time caller last year.
Believe me, there were times last year when we were welcoming, Nate and I were welcoming those calls. I can believe me on that front. That I think is stating the obvious. Best player that you've played against in your time at Purdue, or maybe some of the top guys, and maybe some of the guys that would surprise you.
Sure.
Not just from a defensive standpoint, but guys that may not have been as acclaimed.
Yeah. I mean, there's the obvious ones. Blake Griffin was incredible to play against. I think you look at Big Ten guys, and there's been so many guys that have gone to the NBA. So you have like an Evan Turner, who was incredibly tough to guard. It's hard to say who the best was. You throw AU in there, and you're playing Derrick Rose, Eric Gordon. Mm-hmm. Eric Gordon was obviously very good at Indiana. DJ White was tough to guard, especially when I was a 195-pound freshman. I remember just getting thrown around the paint like a rag doll because Juwan and Nemia shafted me and got in foul trouble, and me and Scott got to guard him. So it's hard to say who the best has been, but I guess more of a less acclaimed guy. I always had serious trouble going against Brian Randall from Illinois because he was long, he was athletic, he was a pretty good defender. I had some tough games against him, turning the ball over and just not playing very good.
And I know you talked a little bit with Mark Monteith on your radio interview about this paying athletes and stuff.
Sure.
But there's a jersey auction right now, and a couple years ago when you had done it, I talked to you and Juwan, and each one at the same time. We talked about it a little bit, and each one's was like $500, and Juwan's was like $700, and yours was like $2,700. The one this year, it's only about $400. So I don't know what happened. You went down in popularity.
A lot of people are coming to their senses and not spending $2,700 on my
But
jersey.
I mean, seriously though, it's such a debate. I mean, now
And
you're done.
There's
so
no,
you can.
Yeah, I guess now I'm done. I guess they could give me money if they want to, but they probably don't want to. But no, in terms of paying college athletes, there's so many just gray areas, and it's hard to say, do you pay starters more than you pay bench players? Do you pay the girls the same? Do you pay divers? Do you pay, I mean, it's just, there's really no good answer. Like, there's really not. So I agree that it's kind of unfair to see what CBS makes off the NCAA tournament, or what the NCAA makes off the CBS from the NCAA tournament, and you see, I guess, coaches' salaries, and they make a lot of money. So I see where the debate lies, but I don't have an answer for it, and the scholarship system works. So we've had interesting debates in our team about what we should do. It's been some comical stories.
Well, I think a lot of it is depending on your background. I mean, if you're blessed with a good family structure where your parents make a good salary, I mean, then you're not wondering, you're not eating noodles or whatever the kids eat nowadays. That's really cheap. Like every week. It's just different for each person.
Exactly. And it depends on, like you said, your economic background.
Yeah.
In my case, I've been very lucky because my parents have certainly helped me out, with expenses and things like that. So, but like you said, it certainly depends on what you got going on.
Yeah, and I like the idea, I think he said too, there seems to be, with the jersey sales, that there might be a way to compensate after the fact. And I think that would be a good thing. Though I'm going to bring my number 4 jersey. I don't have number 4 jersey tomorrow. I wasn't, but I really do see the point there, and I think it is a tough question, as a lot of NCAA questions are, that are tough to deal with. Are there any Purdue football players, this is another, that Purdue would like to have on the basketball team?
I've seen a few of them play, and I would have to say, if I could pick one, it would definitely be K1. When I
played against him.
He eliminated me from the state tournament my senior year. He was on our AAU team. He was really good. I remember he was a junior all-star when we were on the Indiana all-star team playing at Mackey, and blocking him out on a free throw was like impossible. He couldn't do it. So I think now he's got bigger things going on with the NFL and things, so it would make sense. But if I had to pick one, it would definitely be him.
He's a jumper. He can
still dunk. I've seen him dunk as recent as like a few months ago. So it's incredible.
And I think he's going to. I think in the proverbial measurables, he may do pretty well when the time comes.
Sure.
Do you think that you can play the 3 in the NBA, and are you confident that you can guard other 3s at that level?
Yeah, no, it's definitely.
Don't answer no to that one. It would be a dumb thing to do. So go ahead.
Yeah, I think I can. I think offensively it would be just fine. I've heard that I could also play a stretch 4, which is an option, but Defensively, the 3 is probably the hardest position to guard in the NBA. So you got guys like LeBron James running around, and obviously he's a pretty good athlete. So yeah, no problem guarding him. But it'll be a challenge. But I think that as I get stronger and get better, I'll be able to do it.
Yeah, I'm glad you didn't answer no to that. That's good. I'm good, Stacey.
Yeah.
A lot of the fans, I think, got to know, Ryan and Lewis a little bit personality-wise, over the last couple of years. Who are maybe some interesting guys, I guess, on the team? I mean, Drew doesn't get a lot of stuff, because he doesn't play a lot, but he's kind of a funny,
he's very
kind of interesting
and
guy.
Honestly, if you had a reality TV show on our team, like my freshman and sophomore year, people would think that our team was the biggest bunch of, because you have Chris Reed, you have Marcus Green, you have Keaton Grant, you have these guys that are hilarious. I mean, Chris Reed's one of the funniest people I've ever been around. And you add Bobby Riddell to that mix, and it was so much fun because it was like, these guys' personalities are crazy. Chris Reed, I love him, but he was kind of clueless on some sports things sometimes. For a perfect example, he asked me one time if the Big Ten would send a football team to a BCS game this year, and I was like, Chris, we send one to a BCS game every year. So
that's that California thing.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. So it's on this year's team. I think we still have some pretty funny person. You have Tyrone, who's pretty funny. Anthony can be very funny, but it's something that I think the fans don't get to see. They see the serious side, they see the basketball side. But we've been lucky to have some characters.
Anthony was one. There were a couple exchanges this year where you had to exert some leadership with Anthony, and not to single out Anthony, but I guess I am.
Yeah, you are.
But I always love when you say not to do that, which means absolutely I am. No. Talk about that. I mean, having to have that role. Have you always had that in you? And have you ever been in a situation where you might have said something to somebody and found out you were wrong?
Sure. Yeah. And I think my junior year was easy because there was 5 guys that were captains. There was really a lot of responsibility that was shared, and for the most part, I think the guys did a good job of following the scouting report and doing what we needed to do. I know what you're talking about. You're talking about the Iowa game.
Yep. It was good.
In that sense, we had talked about something on the scouting report. Everyone thinks it was about the offensive possession, but it was not about that at all. It was about the defensive possession that had just happened. We had talked about in the scouting report how we were not going to switch any pin downs where Iowa loves to curl the pin down. So he was supposed to shoot the gap. He didn't do that, and then he yelled at me to switch, and Matt Gaines, I think, caught the ball and made like a 6-foot jump shot. And I was mad at him for that, and I told him that, and he said something back to me, and then I think Coach Painter and Bloom and Coach Owens and Coach Shrewsbury and maybe Coach Gary, we were all yelling at the same time.
It was a case of piling on.
Yes, it was unfair to him. So for that, I apologize to Anthony, and I did after the game, but I thought that he needed to hear what I was having to say at that time.
Yeah, that's leadership.
Yeah, but is it okay for then the non-leader to kind of snap back?
At me? Or at
I mean, obviously not the coaches.
I guess,
yeah,
the coaches are not going to say anything back.
You
should just listen to what they're saying.
Yeah.
If he had a legitimate case in that case, I knew he was 100% wrong because we had just talked about it before the game. But if I was wrong, then I would hope that he would say something to me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. In terms of scouting report, and Matt Painter impresses me as a guy that's a lot of attention to detail, not just, and obviously from the assistants on down. I mean, is that something that when you get in huddles, he's constantly coming back to talking about this is what we plan, this is what we're not doing? I mean, is that a huge part of what that message is?
And I think Coach Painter is very good at game planning and figuring out something that's going to work against the team. I thought our game plan against Kansas was unbelievable. I thought our game plan against St. Mary's was very good. So it's something that it's a credit to him, but then he's also flexible. There's been situations where we've had guys that have done some things that we didn't think they'd do, and we've changed it up and fixed the problem. So he definitely reminds you of what we're doing, what we need to do, what we need to not do in the huddle, and sometimes it's more animated than others. So
Oftentimes, from that standpoint. We got so many more questions that we're not going to get to, but what about what are Etuan and Juwan advising on in terms of the draft and the whatnot? I don't know what the whatnot is, but just in terms of getting prepped, how have they helped you in terms of maybe mentally and physically getting ready?
And it was good for me. I saw Juwan go through it up in Chicago because we both worked out up at Attack for his pre-draft, and I was rehabbing my knee. So I got to see what he was doing and see how hard he worked and how hard the workouts were. And we just kind of talked about some of the things that I'm going to start going through here. I know the travel was hard on Juwan because he worked out for like an insane number of teams.
Yeah.
So I think my agent and I will kind of go through that and pair teams down that are interested and really want to see me instead of going on like a 25 workout span. Because like you said, there's a lot of situations where they bring in guys where they're bringing you in to work out against somebody else.
Yeah.
So you got to make sure that you find some teams that are interested.
That's also why you have agents that have been around
Sure.
and know what
Yep.
know how to lay the land. Okay, we're getting down to our last couple questions before they boot us off the
I
internet.
know. I thought it was 3 o'clock already.
Well, we're going to ask another one. Go ahead.
Just from the Twitter, now you're able to connect directly with those fans. I mean, do you like that opportunity to do that? I mean, obviously during the season you couldn't, so you know you'd have maybe an assistant coach or two taking shots at you a little bit without being able to respond.
Yeah, real mature of them. Right?
Yes, but I mean, is that kind of a unique, interesting experience
Sure,
for you?
it is, and it's cool because you can reach whoever's following you and,
Right.
and send out whatever you want to say, which can be a good or a bad thing.
Right.
I guess if you follow me on Twitter, you probably just watch my friends and I make fun of each other all the time. So that's really what it comes down to with us. Sometimes I'll tweet something, I guess, that's decent, but usually it's making fun of like Drew or somebody else on the team.
And making sure you can tell the whole world.
Yeah, there you go. And making sure that it gets out there. So.
All right, we're going to wrap with this because I think this is actually quite appropriate. From Ken, it says, please tell Rob that I've been a Purdue fan for over 50 years and he's been my favorite Purdue player ever. He is what college athletics should be all about. And I think that that's the sentiment without the risk of gushing. I think that's how we all feel. And we've appreciated, I know, our staff and Stacy and Brian and all the time that you've given us over the years, and but also just the leadership, and I think that's and setting that right example, except for the not making your bed. Other than that, you've done your aces on that front. So I can talk to my 17 and 15-year-old about how to be, and I think that is something that people pay attention, and you have done about as well as a guy can do. So we'll look forward to after your 12-year or 16-year NBA career is done, and then I think coaching will be good, then politics will be good, but after that, we'll look forward to having you back on.
His whole life planned out for him.
I do. I think about those things, but no, that's because I'm old. All right, hey, Stacy, thanks so much for being with us. Rob, thank you for being with us, and we'll look forward to seeing you tomorrow. I know, Brian, thank you for being with us, and thank you for walking right across the screen. That will be forever a great moment in Gold and Black Live history. Don't forget, tomorrow morning, get up at 8:30, come to the run for the Purdue Center for Cancer Research, the Purdue Challenge. But then if you can't get up at 8:30, get up at 10:30 and come and see us at Follett's Purdue Pride. Rob Hummel will be there to graciously sign and visit with you. We'll look forward to that 10:30 to 12:30 tomorrow. Spring game after that. A very, very busy day, and also would we be remiss in not saying that to all of us, to the family of Roger Blaylock, and a friend certainly in a very difficult situation, but that also kind of brings it back to a great Purdue person and somebody that has touched a lot of people's lives. So our thoughts and prayers are with them as well. So thanks to our sponsors, and we'll look forward to seeing you next week. Lewis Jackson does not have rebuttal time, but Lewis is on first segment next week, and then Coach Danny Hope will join us for the final Gold and Black Live show of the year. Maybe the final Gold and Black Live show ever. You never know if they cancel us, but it's possible. All right, so we'll look forward to seeing you tomorrow and seeing you next week on Gold and Black Live.